Welcome back. Still with Sheffield United left back of old, the Dave Bassett era, Tom Cowan, or Tommy Cowan as he was often referred to, with referee, it was referred to in many different ways on Sunday morning by players who've been introduced a note of humour into it. Paul Cooper, all of which we can't mention, but there is a big serious side to the way that referees are treated and match officials and getting them in. So we'll have more tales from the touchline there. In the first half, Tom was talking about the casualty rate of managers in the professional game, 43 changes among the 92 clubs, getting on for 50%. It happens in the non-league game as well, just to sort of fill in a few other parts from the roundup that James Gregg normally delivers here. Sheffield FC this week. I don't know if either of you follow the progress of our non-league clubs, two famous ones here, Sheffield FC and Hallam. Sheffield have their manager, well, it was said that he'd stepped down. This was a rather nice way of putting it. This was Andy Kawomya, good guy who's been in this studio, poor run of results. He's become youth development manager, which is good, so he's not left the club. But as so often happens, they go and win the next match. And that's, you know, and it often covers things over for a while. But well done to Christopher Dolby, the caretaker boss installed for possibly just the one match, a great victory at Belper Town. And there's been a lot of speculation around the city this week as to who is going to succeed Andy Kawomya. One name I heard was Peter Duffield. Did you play with Peter Duffield?
Yeah, we were at Retford together. He was manager at Retford and I went and played for Retford for 2 seasons. We actually got promoted 2 seasons in a row out the same league, which was a strange one. They wouldn't let us go up because the turnstiles weren't up to scratch for going up into the next league. So then we had to get promoted again in the same league the year after.
That's one for the record.
Yeah, it's a strange one, that. Yeah, so we got the same medal
Retford
twice.
United, and he was manager there.
Yes.
He's actually not in the game at the minute. Midweek, you know, I honestly thought that he would get the job or be offered it. There's a considerable doubt as to whether he'll accept it for whatever reason. So I don't think it's going to be that, but. He was a striker at the Lane in your time.
Yeah, I loved Duff, to be fair.
Scored loads of goals.
Yeah, he was a good player. He was a good lad as well. We used to travel in and out together as well at Sheffield United. We used to live out sort of Baton Way and used to drive in together.
Right. Well, it remains to be seen about him. I think the 2 candidates would be Ryan Hindley. Now, there's an interesting one. He's manager of Hallam FC, having a great season, pushing for the playoffs. Get along to Sandergate this weekend on Saturday. You'll see a good game. I know you all see a good game at that level. They are pushing for the playoffs. They need your support, and they're well worth it as well. And another contender who I think is the dark horse, you know. If I had a bet, I'd say a dark horse was James Colliver of Clipston rather, in Nottinghamshire. Clipston FC would be a dark horse, I think, for the Sheffield FC job. We'll have to watch this space. Good luck, Sheffield, over the weekend. Sheffield Steelers, just a quick mention of ice hockey, which we do here. Hoping to have a big Steelers guest in the studio shortly. We had the captain, Jonathan Phillips, not so long ago. Terrific win the other night against Manchester, at Manchester Storm, 4-3, maintaining their push for the title. So good luck, Steelers, again this weekend. Sheffield Eagles building up, having a very good start to their season. A couple of wins. They're back in Sheffield now at the Sheffield Hallam University Sports Park. Get along to see them if you can. And we'll have the full gamut of news back with James next week when he looks at golf. I think 1 or 2 of our golfers are doing well. We're big on golf in this area, rugby union, and anything you care to mention. But meantime, let's go back, as we started the programme, to the Blades again. Is it the players, or is it the manager, or is it too simplistic to say either? Yeah,
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think the managers are bringing in the wrong players, which then you look at both then, don't you? There just seems to be a lack of pride in the jersey at the moment. A lot of people have said it. I'll say it on air again, but it just seems as if they go 1-0 down. There's not that massive fight and that urge to get back in the game anymore that old Sheffield United teams used to have, where, you know, why are we 1-0 down? We shouldn't be getting beat. But they just don't seem to have that. It's like a lacklustre performances that they're putting in at the moment.
Doesn't seem to be a great sense of identity about the way they play and an affinity with the crowd, and the crowd are starting to say now, we just want up and at 'em football.
Yeah, I think
attack. I think
that's what they've been looking for years.
Yeah,
and it's been sadly lacking in previous few
the
seasons.
support's been there though. Remarkable
the
crowds,
support is
19,000 regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've not dropped much since the Premier League days. I think 25, 26,000 when we were there playing in the Premier League, and it's down to just 20,000 now, and it's like 5,000 in the space of 2 leagues. You'd expect a lot bigger drop than that.
Do you know, I think when a team's struggling, people always try and find one person to blame, be it the chairman, or in Sheffield United's case, co-chairman, other board members, the manager. And I never think it's one person, it's a collective, always a collective.
No, it's never one person, and that's the problem that this day and age that they're having. I think we spoke about it at the first half of the programme, the amount of managers that are getting sacked this year. I think it's 43, you said. I checked, I thought it was 42, but you said it's 43. Not all sacked, obviously.
No, most.
But 92 Football League clubs who have changed their manager this season alone, 42.
Yeah.
That's horrendous, that's terrible. That just shows you that, I mean, the majority of them will be sacked. A few have left, I think a few have left, Martin Ling left for illness, health reasons. A few have obviously stepped up for better jobs, stuff like that, but a majority of them are being sacked. And
Cannot Sheffield United take some moral high ground finally by not doing what everybody expects them to do?
I would like to think so. I would hope that they do stick with Nigel Atkins, because he's trying to put a structure in place, and all managers do. But you just hope that if he's given time, it'll come to fruition in the end. But time, well, everyone wants stability in football clubs, but time is what managers won't ever have.
We're not whitewashing him. He's had a poor season. He's obviously made mistakes. Some of his signings last summer have not worked. But he's not even had a full season yet, and he's only had one transfer window, during which, although he brought in players of his choice, he lost arguably the best player in that window, Jamie Murphy, and brought nobody in during January, because the squad needs...
Yeah, is that down to him, or is that down to the board not giving him any leeway, saying we need the money?
I'd suspect it was down to the board. That's a guess.
Yeah, and managers can't come out and say that, because they'll just end up getting chastised from above. They're in a no-win situation sometimes. I don't like hammering managers, but to be honest with you, we have went through far too many in the past 3 or 4 years, and it doesn't seem to be working. Why don't we just stick with the one manager, see what he can do for the next 2 or 3 years, as long as we don't get relegated? That's the main thing.
Well, I mean, you say that. I would have just dismissed that a few weeks ago. I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, it's never going to happen.
It's no way.
Position.
It's you just even saying that just kind of shows the kind of atmosphere there is around Bramall Lane. They need the crowd on side, but the players have to get them on side. Players have to give them something to bite on against Port Vale. Bite on in the right way.
Yeah, it all comes down to confidence with players. I've been there and seen it and done it, and if you're not playing well and the crowd starts getting on your back, that is the worst thing that can ever happen to you as a player, because as soon as you start losing and touching, I mean, the amount of times that I've been booed off, not me personally, but been booed off the pitch because I'll get beaten, and it's a terrible, terrible feeling. You might think that players go home to their luxury 15-bedroom mansions and drive home in their Ferraris and all that. They might do, but they actually hurt inside when they go home, when they get a defeat, and it lasts a long time. Halfway through the week, I used to still think what I could be doing or what I could have done differently. The mistakes that I made, what could I have done to rectify them.
And then people start not wanting the ball. That's the danger, isn't it?
I was never brilliant on the ball anyway, so...
Nobody ever gave you the ball, did they?
Not playing long ball.
Well, as we said, always a collective thing. And I always think every time a club employs a manager and sacks him within a short time period, the real failure is with the club, because it's appointed a guy and sacked him. That's where the real failure lies, which is, I think, something Sheffield United should focus on now and say, OK, we've set this course, we'll take a bit of pain for long-term gain. That's only one view.
Yeah, and I agree with that view wholeheartedly. The only problem is that you've got chairmen who are on a power trip, and they want their club to do well. and they think the only way they can do that is by sacking managers. Whereas on the other hand, it's probably better not to sack the manager.
But of course, you've got to resist crowd pressure, and that's starting to build. But I don't think the majority want Nigel Adkins out. That's my gauge of it. But it's important for people not to listen to the loud voices all the time, because they're nearly always the ones that say sack the manager. They're not necessarily a majority.
No, that's true, and his record speaks for itself. He did ever so well at Southampton. Scunthorpe, he did very, very well, and you just hope that he gets it right at Sheffield United, and we can push on maybe next season for promotion. I mean, the season isn't even over. We're only just over halfway. There might even be a chance of getting into the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? I know we're quite a wee bit away, but there's still a chance there.
Dead right.
And I think many Sheffield Wednesday fans will want Nigel Adkins to stay there because they think he's doing a great job.
Well, Agent Adkins.
Agent Adkins, yeah.
He very nearly came to Sheffield Wednesday some years ago. When Brian Laws was offered the Wednesday job and took it, there was an arrangement that Adkins would follow him from Scunthorpe. But Adkins did so well as caretaker and was then offered that job that actually never happened. So Adkins could have been at Sheffield Wednesday. I detect a distinct lack of sympathy from you as a referee for the anguish that players experience when the crowd get on their back.
I mean, Tom raised a good issue there about being booed off a field and feeling dejected and going home afterwards and thinking, what could I have done differently and better. It's exactly the same for a referee. If a referee comes off a game and it's not gone particularly well for him, the referee, doesn't go home and forget about that. Again, a referee will mull it over in the head and say, what could I have done differently? To change that outcome, or could I have handled the player in a different way, or could I have been in a better position to see that, a tackle for the penalty that I gave, or that offside decision. So, when people raise errors that they think that the referee's made, it does weigh on referees' minds, long after they blow that final whistle on Sunday afternoon.
We'll come on next to the question of touchline behaviour. Go on, Tom.
No one's ever been booed by both sets of fans, which happened to me once. I was at Cambridge United and I went on loan to Peterborough, which is their sort of arch rivals. And we played, the next game we played Cambridge and a home game at Peterborough. And every time I touched the ball, I got booed by every set of fans. So it was terrible.
No, it's not happened to me.
Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. It's quite funny.
Yeah, some players that enjoy that. There are some that who really get off on that kind of thing.
Yeah, we ended up winning.
Did you?
Peterborough beat Cambridge, but Cambridge was still my club that I was signed to. But I was on loan at Peterborough. It was a strange situation.
You couldn't lose. We'll come on to the touchlines with Paul Cooper on the behaviour of managers and coaches, both in the amateur game and the professional game, after we had a very brief interlude for squash. Earlier, just before coming on air, I spoke to Sheffield's 3 times world squash champion and now 8 times British national champion. I know it's incredible. I can hardly believe it. I don't think he can. Nick Matthew, about his new squash academy, getting youngsters in, coaching them in the rudiments of squash, encouraging them to get involved in the sport at the Hallamshire Tennis and Squash Club here in Sheffield. But he's had a lot of media attention today. What you're about to hear is one of many, many interviews that he's done. So I asked him if he'd had time to do any coaching.
The priority is the kids today, that's for sure. My career can go on hold. It's more important the kids launching the academy at Hallamshire. It's just fantastic. It's my way of giving something back to a sport that's given me so much.
How many kids have you had down there today? It's very important, isn't it, to get them playing squash?
It is. It's important to get them kids playing any sport. The fact that squash is my passion, where my expertise lies. That's sort of the involvement and the sort of the knock-on effect, the benefit that I can sort of pass on to future generations. Squash has been voted the world's healthiest sport for the last 2 years, so I think it's the perfect sport for kids to be playing, especially a lot of publicity these days about sort of how active our kids are. They're playing too many computer games, are they getting the right diet, etc. Squash is a great sport to sort of counter all that.
Yeah, I must congratulate you as well. You've come straight off winning the British National Championships for the 8th time. 8th time, can you believe that?
Yeah, it sort of shows my age a little bit. So I thought I'd better set something up, for the next generation because, I think winning 8 titles, it means you've been around for at least probably double that amount of years on the tour because these things don't happen overnight. And absolute honour to get that record 8th title over the weekend. The British National Championships is a world standard event. World number 1 we have in England in the women's in Laura Massaro, and James Willstrop, my final opponent in the men's. At one stage we were ranked number 1 and number 2 in the world ourselves, so it's a tough title to win.
I'm guessing you must be 28 or 29 now then.
I wish, Alan, I wish.
But you're still going strong. Squash is a great sport, but it's not always the sport that youngsters automatically go into, is it? So you're hoping to use your profile here in Sheffield to change that a little bit?
Yes, exactly. I've been so fortunate that we've had the support of Hallamshire Squash Club, which is the squash club I first started out playing at when I was 8 years old, and support from One Health as well, healthcare partners who are enable us to take this out to schools, to universities, to people who've never played the game of squash before. Hopefully will encompass all levels. The squad that currently is existing is an elite squad while I'm still playing on the tour, but there's plans afoot to take the sport of squash around the sort of general public and take it around the country as well when I get a bit more time on my hands upon retirement.
Yeah, talking of time, we'll have to love you and leave you. I know you've got plenty going on there, but just before you...
We can talk my retirement another day, Alan. I get asked that question a lot at the moment, so we'll put that one on hold for another day.
Yeah, well, Sheffield Wednesday, yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I did see your column in the Star, and you take a keen interest in other sports. Just briefly, you're clearly quite delighted at what's going on at Hillsborough at the minute.
We all are, yeah. I think it's because we've not had much, it's been a long time since the last time we had something to shout about. So it feels like Wednesday at top of the league in a weird sort of way, doesn't it? Even though, we're fifth. And people are thinking about automatic, but I would settle for the playoffs, to be honest. Not that I'm not dreaming, but I think, 12 games to go, they're bound to have a little bit of a sticky patch at some point. And getting in the playoffs and getting the Hillsborough crowd behind us in a 2-leg semi-final, there's no reason why we can't get to the final. That'd be an amazing day for the club.
It would indeed. Well, maybe we can touch on that because I think in a few weeks' time you're going to grace us with your presence here in the studio.
I look forward to that. Hopefully, last time we came, we had to get on our snowshoes, didn't we, to get into the studio? So looking forward to a nicer night this time.
We did. A foot of snow. We had to come down by train, and it was a precarious journey. But Nick, thanks very much indeed. I think that's March the 31st. We do look forward to that. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alan.
And very best of luck with the academy.
Thank you very much.
A chat with Nick Matthew just before we came on air tonight. Really looking forward to seeing Nick here in this studio in a few weeks' time, March the 31st. Meantime, still with Tom Cowan and with Paul Cooper. Paul, you told us in the first half about just one incident when you've had abuse and threats from players. I'm sure it's not the only one that you've encountered over the years.
No, it's not the only one. But I say as a referee for 12 years, sometimes doing 4 games a week, which was capable of. Things do happen, things do escalate, but that's probably the most serious incident that's happened to me. Right. Again, you get instances where players are overly aggressive. You just have to deal with each instance that's put in front of you to your best ability.
Can I come on to Touchline? And we get used now to managers and coaches at professional level being part of the show, part of the entertainment, gesticulating, rounding on the fourth official, giving him a mouthful every few minutes. It's pure theatre, pure pantomime. It can't do you any favours because I'm sure that gets aped on a Sunday morning, that behaviour.
Sunday morning is a little bit different because you've not got a lot of the grounds of Parks football. You don't have dugouts in Parks football. It's just a football pitch You know, that's the only facilities you've got.
And you've got no fourth official.
You've got no fourth official, no linesman.
Nobody controlling these guys. You're having to control these guys.
Yeah.
And they're often coming right up at the touchline, all the way up the touchline, aren't they?
Yeah, you'll get instances of people walking up and down the touchline following play. You'll get a lot of instances with actually spectators and management team actually coming onto the field. You know, if a ball's going down into a corner, they'll actually walk onto the pitch to, you know, to see where the ball's going into the far corner. So, you know, you have to be aware of that.
No escape.
Yeah, no escape. So you have to, you know, usher them off the field.
And should they be taking more responsibility for their players?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, they should. You know, I turn up on a Sunday morning, and I'm expected to manage 22 players on a football pitch who I've never met before.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's managers and coaches who they should be taking responsibility for their players and their spectators' actions. You know, so, you know, and if they can't manage that situation, how do they expect somebody who's, you know, they may know me from refereeing previous matches with them, but how do they expect an individual who's got no real relationship personally with any of those players to be able to manage them, you know, in a way other than under the laws of the game?
Do you think that what goes on in the pro game could set a better example low down, Tom?
I think it does. A lot of it all comes down to money, the money that the managers are earning. They need to be showing to be doing something on the touchline. Throwing your arms about might not be the main thing, but they're standing there and being visible to the fans because they're earning so much money to be running a team. It didn't used to happen in my day. No. The managers used to just sit in the dugout. And
indeed, you never saw them. Really,
yeah, the only time it used to come out was in the odd occasion where they had something to tell you because they'd already given you the information.
They're not doing any good there at all.
No,
they're there for show, aren't they?
Well, they'd already given you most of the information before you got into the pitch, and they've got half time to sort any problems out that if you weren't doing it in the first half, then you do this in the second half.
We've not got long left. I know that during the break, Paul here made a point to me that the individual leagues and the authorities of these leagues do take these issues very, very seriously. Yeah. They do try and deal with it. Certainly the FA do, the regional FAs do. You made the point that there could be more members for the Sheffield Referees Association because it would help them. But do the FA actually do enough in terms of education and support of young referees? Or referees?
Well, it's when you say the FA, it's actually drilled down to the local county FA. Yeah. So local football, you know, that will come out from the team down there. So they're a very, very hard-working bunch down at the county FA, and they do everything for the good of football. But there's not enough of them.
No.
You know, there isn't actually enough of them. We've got a referees department. We've got 1,100 referees, and we've got 2 guys.
With all the admin, trying to sort all this out, inundated.
Yeah.
Cases, disciplinary cases.
Well,
so you deal with the more staff there, the more incidents could be dealt with.
Yeah, there is a disciplinary department, but you know, they're, you know, sort of short-staffed.
Yeah.
We've got 2 referee development officers who have to sort of look after 1,100 referees. You know, so, and that's promotion candidates, and that's you know, people who are having, you know, a bad time, you know, to support them as well.
You've identified something there that's a key area for the FA nationally to look at within its local associations, its county associations. More support, more men on the ground, women on the ground. Tom Cowan, brilliant to see you again. Thanks ever so much for coming in. And Paul Cooper, hope the rest of the season treats you a lot better. Yeah. Sheffield Wednesday at Preston this weekend. Sheffield United at home to Port Vale. Here's to a City double. We'll see you next week. Bye. Bye.